Time to do practice 3-6. We're talking about lines in the coordinate plane and the equations of the lines. There are three styles that we can choose. We have slope-intercept form, we have standard form, and we have point-slope form. All of these answers should come out as point-slope form when we're done. That's how I want you to write them. So I have made some extra room on my sheet to be able to go through these with you. So hopefully you'll get out an extra piece of paper, or you already have, and you're working on some of these. So here we go. Number one, we have a point and we have a slope. Incidentally, we have an equation called point-slope form. And so we can substitute in the values that we know. Y minus y1, well there's my y1, equals m, which is my slope, so I'll write the slope with the substitution, times x minus the x1. So notice how I still have a y and an x in my equation. Now I'll do some of the simplification. So I've got y plus 6 equals 1/3 x, and then I'm going to do the distributive property here because I got to simplify. 1/3 x minus 1/3 times -3, that's -1. Now I'll subtract 6 from both sides, and I'm left with y all alone on one side of the equal sign equals 1/3 x minus 7. And that is the answer for number one. Number two, I have a point and a slope. So I'm going to use the same thing, point-slope form, and then simplify it so that I get y alone on one side of the equal sign. Here we go. Y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. Simplify this, and I've got y minus 2 equals -2x, distributive property, -2 times -5 is +10. Now I'll get y alone, and y all by itself equals -2x plus 12. Oops, plus 12. Number three, a point and a slope. So y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. Y minus 3 equals 7x minus 21. Add 3 to both sides. Y equals 7x minus 18. Number four. Again, same point-slope formula that we're using and simplifying it to be slope-intercept form. So y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. Simplify this, and I'm at y plus 1 equals -1/2 x, and now distributive property, -1/2, and this would simplify to be x plus 4. So now I've got -1/2 times +4 leaves me with -2. Subtract 1 from both sides, and my final answer is y equals -1/2 x minus 3. Number 5. I've got, just like before, point, slope. Y minus y1 equals slope, 1/6, times x minus x1. Do you see how many parentheses I'm using? Yeah, that helps me keep this all straight. So y minus -2, that's the same as y plus 2. 1/6 times x, 1/6 times minus negative would be positive. So 1/6 times 3 would be +1/2. And subtract 2 from both sides. Y equals 1/6 x, where was I? Minus 1.5. Number 6. Y minus 10 equals slope times x minus 15. This is already simplified. Now let me go over here. So I've got y minus 10 equals 4/5 x, distributive property, 4 over 5 times 15 over 1. I can take out the 5's here, and I'm left with 4 times 3. That would be 12, so I got 4/5 times negative 15 equals negative 12. Add 10 to both sides, and y alone on one side of the equal sign equals 4/5 x, oops, sorry, that's supposed to be minus 2, because I got negative 12 and positive 10. Number 7, y minus negative 9 equals slope times x minus x1, or x minus 1. Negative, negative, that makes it positive, so I get y plus 9 equals 4x, distributive property, minus 4. Subtract 9 from both sides, y equals 4x minus 13. Number 8, y minus y1 equals slope times x minus x1. So distributive property, y minus 6 equals, now I get distributive property, negative x, negative 1 times 0, that's 0. So now I'll add 6 to both sides, y equals negative x plus 6. Now we have to graph each line using slope-intercept form, which is the y equals mx plus b. But not all of these equations, as a matter of fact, none of them, start off with y alone on one side of the equal sign. So we have to rearrange them. And here's what number 9 will look like. 2y equals 8x minus 2. I need y to be alone on one side of the equal sign, so it's getting multiplied. I undo multiplication with division. I'm going to write it like this, as separate denominators for each of those terms, because now I can simplify this. The 2's cancel out, so I get 1y, and now I can simplify this. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and I can simplify this, minus 1. If I had written it the other way with just one big denominator, I think it would be a little harder to separate out what these terms can simplify to. So this is how I would like you to do these division problems when you have to rearrange to get slope-intercept form. Am I done? No, I have to graph this. Here are my axes, and the first place I put the pencil down, or the stylus as the case may be, will be on negative 1. And that's always on the y-axis, because that is my y-intercept. So here's my y-axis, negative 1 will be about here. Now I do the slope. The slope is 4. So that means I go up 4 over 1. So when there's no denominator, it's like having an invisible 1 there. So now I'm going to go from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1. And that is all you need to have a correct answer for these questions. Number 10, let's rearrange that one. 2y equals 1/2 x minus 10. Divide both sides by 2. 1/2 divided by 2, negative 10 divided by 2. 1/2 divided by 2 is a lot like saying 1/2 divided by 2 over 1. Hey, two fractions getting divided, that's like invert and multiply. So I pick up the bottom fraction, flip it over, and there you go. 1/2 times 1/2, and my answer is 1/4. So now I've got y alone on one side of the equal sign, 1/2 divided by 2, that gives me 1/4 x, and now negative 10 divided by 2 would be negative 5. What does that graph look like? Here's my y, here's my x. First place I put the pen down is on my y-intercept. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, from there, I do the slope. Up 1 over 4. Up from here, I go up 1, and now over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do it again. Up 1 over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it makes a nice straight line with a very low slope. Number 11, we have some rearranging to do. 3x plus 9y equals 18. I have to get the y alone on one side of the equal sign. So let me subtract the 3x and divide by 9. 9 here and 9 here. So let's clean that up. Y is 18 divided by 9 minus 3x divided by 9. I'm even going to rearrange this, and the negative sign will stick to the 3x term so that I see it as the slope times the x plus the y-intercept over here. So now let me rewrite it one more time. Y equals negative 3 over 9x plus 18 over 9. Simplify that, and you get negative 1/3 x plus 2. Ah, but you're not done. You have to graph that. First place to put the pen down is on the y-intercept of positive 2. So there's that dot. From that point, I do the slope. Negative 1, that means down. And the bottom is always the over, or to the right. So from my y-intercept, I go down 1, and to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. Down 1, 1, 2, 3. And there's the line. Number 12. Negative x plus y equals negative 1. That looks pretty simple. Let's get y alone on one side of the equal sign so that we have slope-intercept form. Add x to both sides. Y equals, now I'm actually going to write it with this term first. That's positive x. And then my constant, minus 1. What does that look like on a graph? Well, this is like an invisible 1 over 1 for my slope, but here's my very obvious y-intercept. So from y equals negative 1, I now do the slope. Up 1, over 1. Up 1, over 1. Up 1, over 1. And there's the graph. Number 13, y plus 7 equals 2x. I can just do this one right here. I just have to move that 7 over, and my equation is y equals 2x minus 7. My graph starts off at negative 7. Here's negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's my first dot. Now I do the slope. 2x is the same as saying 2 over 1. So I go up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. And, whoa. Let me darken that in and cover those dots. And there's my line. 14. 4x minus 2y equals 6. I'm trying to get the y alone. So I'll subtract 4x from both sides. Those cancel out. And I will divide this side by negative 2 and divide the terms over here by negative 2. So now I just have y equals, now I'm going to write my x term next. So I got negative 4 divided by negative 2. That's positive 2 with my x. And 6 divided by negative 2. That leaves me with negative 3. Now graph that. First place you put your pencil down is the y-intercept, negative 3. 1, 2, 3. Then I do the slope. 2x is the same as saying 2 over 1, so that means I go up 2 over 1 and put a dot. Up 2 over 1 and put a dot. 15. I've got y almost alone, but I need to do some rearranging. So this one, I'm actually going to move the y over and move the x back here. So I can simplify. I could have moved the 5 and then divided by a negative 1, but I know how this is going to look, so I'm going to take one fewer step by just adding the y to both sides and subtracting the 3/4 x from both sides. So if I do that, add y here, add y here, subtract 3/4 x, subtract 3/4 x. Now I've got the y over on this side, and it equals negative 3/4 x, and this is positive 5. Now, I do have some properties that I can use here, and I'm going to write the y first. So y equals this term, negative 3/4 x, and this term, plus 5. Graph that. First place to put the pen down is on the positive 5 on your y-axis. There's my first dot. Now I do the slope. Down 3, but still to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, and over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Okay, now let's do number 16. 1/3 x equals 1/2 y minus 1. So let me add 1 to both sides, and then multiply this guy by 2 over 1. So all of this will get multiplied by 2 over 1. And I'm left with y equals 2 times the 1/3 x would be 2/3 x, and 2 times the 1 is 2. Graph that. Y on the y-axis start at positive 2, and then do the slope up 2 over 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, that's a little tilted, but there you go.